I see the little eyeball thing.
There we go, by golly. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
So we that was an exciting little wait right there.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, how are you doing today, Damon?
I am doing excellent. I am doing just great. Yourself, I see you're wearing a light jacket, a little chilly out there in San Diego.
We are it gets down in the low 60s at nighttime and in the 70s in the daytime. So it's kind of actually perfect, but sitting here in the garage office today in the shade, I said I'm going to wear a little jacket.
A little breezy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is that time of year.
It is, it is. And let me get this part open over here so when people make comments and such, we can tie right into them. So I guess we'll kind of just jump right in here with both feet. And
Absolutely.
what I thought would be a really fun topic to kind of talk about today to start this thing out. Even though we're coming towards the end of season, this is something really good for everybody to kind of keep in mind that has a detailing business. And that is how you can work within a car show community to grow your business. And it's really kind of a hand in hand thing because people at car shows all want their cars to look really great. And a lot of those people use a detailer, and a lot of the ones who don't probably should use a detailer from
Yeah.
my experience of going to a lot of car shows.
No, and I agree. It's if we are getting close to that end time of the year, when there aren't as many car shows. I mean, I'm sure with warmer climate areas, you can have a lot more and spread out that season too. But we are kind of getting to that slower part. And if you're in an area where it is getting that point where it's slowing down, now's the time to start thinking about what are you going to do in 2025 when it comes to car shows.
Exactly, exactly. And there's a couple things that play into this really well. One of them, you're part of your community, and there's a lot of name brand exposure and becoming that authority in the community. That's exactly the customer that you have. Whether they want you to take care of the car, the show car that they have, they probably have a
Hmm.
few other cars. Most people that have those kind of cars, it's not their daily driver. Um, so it's just a really really good fit. And I get asked a lot of times by the guys in our network, maybe they're thinking about approaching working at a car show or having a booth, or what ideas that they have to get in there and really kind of shake up and get business for themselves. And so we got a
Hmm.
ton of ideas to kind of throw out for everybody. And it's a more than open discussion. If anybody has any questions, you can throw them right in there, or comments or great ideas that we might be missing.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I want to start out with not only just car shows, but one of our guys, Israel Galan in Indianapolis, he has kind of taken a little different angle with the whole car show thing. And first, he owned a Mini Cooper, and he was in a Mini Cooper club where he would attend a ton of their shows and their events.
Hmm.
And he detailed everybody. He ceramic coated so many cars in that Mini Cooper club. Well, then he sold that car and bought a Corvette, infiltrated the Corvette thing, and built up his name in there. And now he sold his Corvette and he bought a Camaro. And so he
Hmm.
joins a Camaro club, which, I'll be quite honest. When I got this hot rod behind me, like my whole shtick behind it was like, I'm going to put my logo on it and take it to car shows, which I did.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because that makes it kind of a write-off, and I was able to take a nice tax deduction the first year that I had it and stuff. But
Hmm.
Israel has like gone in and really just gripped different groups, and I don't know if he's just going to every year or two sell his car and buy another car. It seems kind of fun in its own right.
Yeah, and I think the other thing when you look at these or car groups too, they're also doing things when it comes to, like charities in our community, raising money for different things, different issues, whatever, and by having a vehicle within that group, it kind of gives you a say. Plus, you're a little bit part of something bigger than yourself too, and it's helping the community.
Yep. And these car shows, they produce a lot of opportunities. Whether you're going on and making social media content to bring up your name, it's perfect to do that.
Hmm.
Whether it's live streams, before and afters, testimonials. I mean, heck, on kind of the outside of it, I attend car shows for one of my projects, and we made our own trophies that have the
Yeah.
podcast on here, best in show, and we pick out a car that we like. And I don't know why anybody couldn't do this. These trophies cost about $11.
Yep.
We pick out a car that we like, and we award somebody with a trophy, and we make a video of it. So you
Yeah.
could absolutely do this with your own company, and it's just really cool. And those people, if you think about it, they're going to share those videos and those pictures because all these car show people are pretty darn proud of what they got.
Hmm. Oh no, without a doubt, they want to be recognized. Maybe they didn't get recognized at the show, but to be recognized online or, by other people. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a great idea to market, and it's a great marketing tool. Uh, Plus, who wouldn't want to be recognized about a vehicle that they've polished or they've taken care of and they kept clean and got it ready, for the show. I think that's the coolest thing about it. It gives them the recognition.
Yep. And now, do you guys with your Omaha store? I know you participate in all kinds of community stuff. Do you guys have you fired off any of this stuff with your local community and car shows?
Yeah, we've done some of this. I mean, eh, I think in the very beginning, you kind of get into as many of the different car clubs as you can. And I understand that because you just don't know exactly where maybe your brand fits. And your brand may fit better in, say, with the Mini Coopers than it might with, say, Camaros, Mustangs, or so forth. We're fortunate enough that we have some really great customers who are also car people, and we've been invited into different clubs. I think of, the Mustang Club there in Omaha, and thank God we got Bob Ellis. Bob Ellis is not just, a customer at one time, works at the shop. Bob is a huge ambassador, for the brand itself. So having him into the Mustang clubs, it really helps. It helps quite a bit, and it's a great way to be introduced to other people and network.
So typically, when he does car shows and stuff, he kind of is a spokesperson, for Owner's Pride, and he sells a lot of the products. Does he? How does he specifically approach the shows that he goes to? Does he have like a signage that he puts up in front of his car, or how does he connect those dots?
Bob has done both, and I think the great thing about Bob too is Bob is very consistent. Bob is very passionate. He just doesn't have one Mustang; he has a couple, and he likes to go to certain shows and take the different Mustangs and different shows that they go to, and but people know Bob whether he's walking around with an OP shirt, whether he had a table, a tent, anything like that. The greatest thing about Bob is how easy it was for Bob to show other people in the club how to maintain their cars. And if you can find somebody like that within the car group that you're being a part of, that's really what you want to do. Empower them. Let them show, everybody else in their group how to maintain a vehicle. It's an excellent way because that person in that group as your spokesperson is going to get across to the other members a lot better than you will.
Yeah, they're trusted. They're already
Yeah.
in there and trusted. So huge, huge. And that's really kind of the best the best of both worlds. If you can turn one of your customers into an advocate and they are going around promoting your business as that trusted person.
Yeah. I mean, Bob's actually more than an advocate. He's more like an ambassador, and that's what you're talking about essentially too, is having that advocate, having that ambassador, having somebody out there being a champion for you.
And so this is, again, we talk a lot about building yourself as an authority. So even if you're doing these car shows and you're going to them, you don't
Hmm.
necessarily want to go like always just be going for the kill. This is maybe where ABC always be closing isn't the most sense, because we want to build that trust. and
Right.
and you're positioning yourself by helping people and answering questions as that authority, which leads to sales down the road because people do business
Hmm.
with people that they like.
Oh yeah. I mean, we said it before, people don't care what you have to say until, they don't how much you really care about whether the subject that you're talking about or trying to sell them on or just even interacting.
So here's one of the questions that I get, that I see often just in the groups, and that somebody is going to go to, they got the idea and they want to go to their local community and they want to participate in a car show. And maybe they're going to set up
Hmm.
a booth. So they kind of think about, what kind of stuff do I want to have on that booth? And I used to do these a lot, even before I got a car to take to it. I would go with my van and I would have a table in front of it with a cloth over the table with brand on it. I was selling some of the products, and for all of our guys that are installers, we give you enough margin that you could take a couple cases of the things that are going to make sense and sell them at the car show. However,
Hmm.
I never really sold very much product at the car show. And originally I kind of stepped into it thinking that that was going to be my big win. But it wasn't so much that as just the name brand recognition. And the biggest piece that I had, that I always tell everybody it's imperative, is you want to have a drawing for something where you're collecting the
Hmm.
customer's information. And so a lot of times that conversation will start out with, like, I'll give away a ceramic coating, something that's a higher margin job for you, but it's going to take you multiple hours. And I really kind of try to steer them towards doing a clay and spray, kind of like we talked
Hmm.
about on our Saturday thing a couple weeks ago. But something
Right.
similar to that, where you're giving the customer a great value, but you're not really chewing up a whole bunch of your labor or product cost, because in the big picture, the main thing that you're trying to do is get as many of those people to fill out a thing so you can market to them down the road.
Right.
Now, so I think that's like kind of the creme de la creme piece, the most important, where you're going to get your payback, and it's going to be something over time. But a couple of the other things that I think are great to have out there, and we can think about when we go to trade shows, the stuff that they have. A lot of them have a candy dish on the table, because you know what? People walking by will stop and take a piece of that candy, and that's an opportunity for you to talk to them.
Hmm.
Another thing that I always put on my table was I would go to the junkyard and I'd get a really foggy headlight that's really oxidized, and I'd put a piece of tape on it, polish half of it off, because it was just such a really good visual representation. And if we think about it, we can walk through any parking lot in any stores, and you will see
Hmm.
a ton of oxidized headlights. So it's something that people can maybe not necessarily have done for their show car, but it'll pique their interest for what you can do for them outside of just the show car world.
Right. Right. One of the
Uh,
things that we did was, like bottles of water. I always say nobody ever says no to a bottle of water, but if you go ahead and you label your bottle of water, you can go ahead and get them labeled, get them looking nice. People will always remember you. They're gonna remember, and not only that, typically on a car show, blacktop, it's hot. It's just hot. It's kind of miserable a little bit, and people are looking for shade and always looking for water. And I think it's a great way because you're meeting a couple needs. You're meeting the thirst, and you're also meeting the fact that you're trying to get your name out too.
and that creates reciprocity, which you're actually handing them something and giving them something, which just psychologically makes somebody want to do something in reciprocate.
Yeah.
I got a little stuck on that. Okay, so another thing, if you could have, it's a car show, and women and cars always do kind of go together. Not trying to jump over the top here, but if we
Mhm.
think about when we go to SEMA specifically, which is a really big show and companies are spending a lot of money, they'll often have a spokesmodel, person there. So, we look at this. If your wife, or your wife's friends or whatever, could be a great person to just involve in that and have them handing out brochures or kind of getting people to come over to your booth. But you know,
Mhm.
yeah, and there's nothing improper about what I'm saying about any of that. Okay. Um, what else? What else will we do there?
I think the biggest thing at a car show is networking. Not necessarily to the point where people feel like you're constantly selling anything, because that does become a turnoff if all you're doing is sell, sell, sell. But if you come up, and even we used to do a sample of products, or just to walk up and ask somebody, hey, can you tell me a little bit about your car? Get ready. You're going to get about a good 15, 20 minutes of a story. But what you are going to get is somebody that now that, they have told you their story, you get to tell them yours, or you can also see opportunities and ways in which maybe you can help them. Once you show that you're interested in somebody and something that they're very proud of, they're way more receptive to go ahead and talk to you. And that's what you're doing. You're talking, you're networking, you're breaking that ice, and you're getting to know more people, not only at that car club, but you're also getting to know more people within the community. And as a small business, you should really try to be as involved in your community as possible. It's not always just about sales. It's about building your brand, letting people know who you are, and they get an idea of what your brand stands for.
Business cards and or pamphlets on that table that they could take, really
Hmm.
big. And here's probably the biggest one. No, the second biggest. I think having some kind of a drawing where you can collect information is the biggest. But
Right.
the second is to have either a trunk lid or a car hood or something that's on a stand that if you can run a polisher, that just brings people around like moths to a flame. The roaring of the machine, it piques their curiosity and then they come over. And then you've kind of got their attention for an educational moment where you could talk
Hmm.
about how you polish a car and what scratches are fixed or what a ceramic coating is, and you can get them for that demo. Um, and I think most of the guys who are going to be stepping into this realm have done it enough that they're going to have a pretty solid flow down. But, just kind of think about. I always like to try to put myself in the other side of the transaction. So
Hmm.
what would pique my interest if I was going up to this booth? And maybe go to a car show and go up to some of the booths, see the things that work well for you and that are appealing and what's not.
Yeah, and I think it's a twofold thing, right? It's great for the person behind the table, because some people aren't just naturally talkative, or they lack certain sales skills or just don't have them yet. Being able to work on something, one, you're focused, right? And two, people are curious. So if you're doing something, people are curious, they come up, they're the ones that are going to go ahead and start asking questions. Not only that, but it gives you an opportunity too to be able to explain what you're doing. So there is an educational process in there, and you end up building trust along with all that.
Yeah. I mean, it might even be great to fire off. You're doing a demo, you're talking to a group of people, and say, what kind of problems have you had with your car? And then that just opens up the whole opportunity for you to be an authority and either tell them how to fix it or,
Mhm.
potentially get that job yourself.
Right. And you can also get a chance to explain to them what they're seeing. Most people don't understand where the wash scratches come from. Do you have something that looks like this? Go ahead and explain it to them how that got there and what you're going to do to get rid of it, or what you can do, or what they can do so that they don't put any more into their paint or the finish.
And so, for anybody out there who might be watching right now, what are there any things that you've seen at a car show, or things that have really stood out to you that we could add to this list? Because I
Hmm.
think that would be really cool. I don't even have the questions and comments open. There we go. So if you do, you can drop it right in the side, and you can be a
Yep.
part of this conversation. All right, and we talked about networking. Um, I just really it's definitely the right group of people. But I will admit that, because I do go to a lot of car shows, a lot of these guys spend a ton of money on the engine of their car and the systems for it, but they don't necessarily see how beat up that paint is. And it kind of
Hmm.
varies from show to show. You don't want to. Here's the point that I'm trying to make. you don't want to come out and insult somebody because they're super proud of that car, even if it looks like it's really beat up. Like, you just walk into this discussion with kid gloves and gently.
You never want to call somebody's kid ugly, is really what it comes down to. You just don't want to call anybody's child ugly. And that's what when I look at cars or people who love and are passionate about your cars, it's pretty much another child. And we'll see things that they don't see. And they'll see things that we don't. But I think that's the important part of being able to have communication and dialogue with your customer, or even like doing this and getting the full story behind this. Maybe this car in particular looks amazing. It's great, but yeah, it's got some fine scratches. Well, maybe it was somebody belonged to somebody else in the family, it ends up being given to them. And now they take it out on the weekends or whenever the grandkids come over or something like that. They get in the car and they go for a drive. And it's more about the emotional attachment and the emotional perfection of it rather than the paint being perfect. It's more about the perfection of the time and the moment that they have with that particular vehicle. So it's like you were saying, it's one of those things you really do want to go in with kid gloves because there could absolutely be a way more to this story. And as far as the car looks, the finish, even the color, then And I think being very leery, not leery, but very cautious about that at a car show will definitely help you from not making a lot of mistakes that I probably made when I was younger.
Yeah. I would go in a little too confident early and I would be like, your car looks
I'm sure.
horrible. I can
And
fix
guess what I
that.
can do for you? I can fix that for you.
And they didn't see a problem
Hmm.
with it from the beginning. And just to
Right.
kind of step off of that, but similar vein, a lot of times, we're detailers and we see stuff that the average human being doesn't see. We cannot walk through a parking lot without seeing squirrels. However, a lot of people buy a brand new car, and I use the example of most customers don't stand on that car lot and say, I'll buy that car if you polish it for 10 hours. They'd say, that's a brand new car, it's shiny and it's awesome, and I want that
Yeah.
car. Now, imagine you do that. You're tied in for 50, 60, $70,000, and you've got this crazy car payment. Then you take it to your detailer and you're super proud of it, and the detailer looks at it and goes, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they sold this thing to you like this." And you're hurting their feelings and damaging them. I think there's a much better
Hmm.
way to approach that, and you always want to compliment whatever the heck they got for sure. Um, so that's just a little side note to the car shows, but I see this
I
happen
don't
in
think that's a side note at all. That happens way too often in our industry where you're exactly right. You don't need to point out the imperfections. They already have brought their vehicle to you because you're the authority, you're the professional. It doesn't mean you have to go and knock down how bad the finish looks. What's awesome is you think it looks great now, just wait. Let me, and maybe do a half and half for them just on one panel and give them a visual of where you're wanting to take this finish from what they thought that was absolutely perfect to something that will look even better. And I think that's a beautiful thing about when you do a paint correction, even the one step of it, if you can create that nice solid divide line and give your customer a really good idea of where you're going or where you're at currently and where you want to take it to, it's to me it's invaluable. It's a huge tool. It's very great to do right before if you're working with a customer that's very busy, get that photo, make sure you have that, and it's always something you can show up to them when they come to pick it up.
Yeah. And if you're going to do that test spot to try to sell them where you're going to do it really good, they do it somewhere right by the front quarter panel or the driver's door where they have to look at that really well fixed piece.
It's something like, I mean, you can always make it, you can always soften up the line. You can soften up the line, but I think you really do need to create that drastic point of reference for them because right now they're looking at this car as a whole and it's perfect to them. And you're right, and they spend a lot of money. And so here you are telling them, no, it's not perfect. But if you just say, hey, it looks great now, but we want to make it look even better, and this is what we're shooting for. This is what we're going for.
And Bob had a comment in here, and he said, having a client there, they'll push your service, and absolutely, I think that's how Israel does so darn well. Is he
Hmm.
infiltrates that club, and he does a really great job on their car, and it just spreads like wildfire. And that they're gonna trust those other people who have their cars at that show more than somebody who doesn't.
Yeah, car club members are very tight people. I mean, it's another family. Typically, the ones that I've seen that have been able to last a long time, they're very, very family oriented in the things that they do. And they're really about customer, or not customer, I'm sorry, but they're very big on member interaction and going to these car shows and being part of it and be part of the car club family.
And we have Austin on here too, and he says car shows are amazing, especially when you have a client at the car show. This is kind of what we were just saying
Hmm.
too. Doing a waterless, and I think by waterless, I think he means eco wash.
Yep.
On the car at a car show is huge. People gather around and start asking questions, and that's a great point. I think I said this a couple weeks ago. It was a week or two ago is my 13-year anniversary for having this baby behind me. I've
Hmm.
never in 13 years squirted it off with a hose, not even one time. Not even one time.
All rinseless.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see, and then Austin says doing the waterless wash. He made extra money doing waterless washes at the car show, which is pretty darn interesting too. You do see a
Hmm.
lot of the guys who show up at the car show, and they either are have their detail spray and they're kind of going around hitting it, but that would be a really great opportunity to actually just step up and help them clean their car.
Yeah. And with Bob, Bob would show up at the car shows and he would begin doing the cleanup on his, like, after they did their drive to get to there. And typically he would spend half the time, or not even way more than half the time, getting his vehicle all prepped and ready to go. People see that and they're like, how did he get done so quick? What is he using? And Bob just isn't about sales. Bob's also about teaching and training people. So if you have that kind of advocate for you, it's amazing.
And here's another little thing that's kind of a neat to do. And you could make packages that are really relevant to the car show itself. So it's Bonnie Jean's car show, and you could have the
Mhm.
Bonnie Jean's post car show cleanup or the show car prep package, which would kind of be specific for that audience that's right there, but it's gonna directly hit them. I know, like a lot of dealerships, when they sell their paint protection packages, as a bigger scale business, if they're in the mountains, they call it like the Rocky Mountain protection package, or the wherever they are, they make it relevant, the name of it, to that specific area,
Hmm.
and that just ties it together for a person in their head.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's all part of building community and actually acknowledging that you're part of the community. It really does make it to the point where people realize, okay, this isn't somebody from out of town doing this. This isn't somebody that's just a large corporation. This is somebody that's part of our community, and it just recognizes that.
Now, you could also, another thing is, you could be a sponsor at a lot of these car shows. I think, and next week I believe we're going to talk about ROI on different things that you can invest in for your business, whether it's adding services or things like this. So I'd really like to
Hmm.
sit down and kind of and you think about what your ROI is going to be, but sponsoring a car show puts your name on a lot of the stuff that's out there. So you have a lot bigger opportunity for name brand recognition, and again, people start recognizing your name, and it makes it easier to flow business that way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the sponsorship part of it too, it gets your logo out there. People are carrying around typically flyers, or you're going to see your logo on a flyer. I do think that if you're going to sponsor one, the best way to get any type of ROI out of it, I'm sure we'll talk about that, later, but is the fact that you got to be there. It's not just putting up the logo, it's you're there and you're shaking hands and kissing babies,
And you definitely want to think of this again as building trust and more of a long play, not just get in there, hit it and quit it and then never see those people again, because it's all about building that trust and recognition and being the authority, and then it just it snowballs and grows and you get referrals, and it's pretty darn neat, pretty darn neat. I and so there one little side note here. So when I got this car and I got it under, I had my detailing business at the time. And my excuse for getting it was like, oh, I'm going to get this so I can take it to car shows and everybody get business. So my tax guy
right?
told me, like, I was thinking I could just put a sticker on it or something and then have it as a write-off. But it actually, at the time, which again, this was 13 years ago, it had to actually be painted on to the vehicle to be a write-off for me. And I don't know if that's just California or what that is. So what I did in that, because of that, is I went to a pinstriper and I had him put, in my rear quarter windows right here, Big D's Mobile
Yeah.
Detailing, and, kind of match the style and everything. But then it was painted on. So if you want to take this as a write-off for your business, just check the legalities with your tax person to make sure that you're doing it correct.
Yeah, it's going to be different in every state, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, as long as you can prove that it is part of your business and you're using yeah, you're going to be okay. But you're right. That's one of those questions that if you haven't asked your CPA about, then maybe it's about time you should.
Yep. Nobody wants to get that letter in the mail getting audited, and then you got to prove stuff, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Because they don't care.
Exactly. No,
They
no,
don't care.
never have.
All right, so there we go. We hammered through that. If anybody, is there any more questions on this right here? Bob says, I can tell you who's been using a California Duster on their car. I want to, there's a few people in the auto industry that I would like to meet just so I could smack them right across their face. One of them, the guy who made this California Duster, who just puts scratches in cars. Another one of them,
Yeah.
the guy who came up with this felt carpet that they use in a lot of cars that's impossible to vacuum. Let a dog get in one of those cars. Holy moly. Those are
Yeah, I'm not going to take on the felt carpet part, but I mean seriously, California Dusters, I understand. The one thing though I will say, their marketing has always been genius because they're like, well, how, person that owns a California Duster, how do I clean it? Oh, you don't have to. The dirtier it is, the better it works.
right.
You cannot say that about any other product. The dirtier it gets, the better it works. You can't say that about underwear. Can't say it about your clothes you're wearing. You can't. You just can't say it. You can't say the microfiber towel that I'm using gets better the dirtier that microfiber towel gets. It's just an impossibility. And I I applaud him. I applaud him for being able to say it that many times that people have actually believed it.
I wonder if we're looking at this all wrong as detailers, and we should be like just giving one to every car that we can take care of. Free
Just to
California
scratch it up. Yeah.
Duster. Now,
Bob will tell you he even did an exchange. So you bring in your California Duster, and then you got so many microfiber towels back. I mean, we were doing an exchange for him at one time, and the California Duster phenomenon seems like it's kind of slowing down a bit. I'm sure it's in the trunk of many, many cars out there, but at least now it seems like there's enough information that people realize that, yeah, maybe that's not the best thing to shove dirt across my paint.
and there may even be a way that you could have a California Duster and effectively use it without damaging your paint. Owner's Pride OPX. And this is
Gotcha.
my little plug piece right here. But it's an
Right.
absolute true story. It's relevant to show cars and car shows. But I love telling this story. I've had this car for 13 years. I've had access to ceramic coating the entire time. But I would traditionally come downstairs. What? I, I guess I do have to walk down 2 stairs to get
Gotta walk
down
down
there. I don't
steps.
I don't know why I said downstairs. So I come downstairs all tired out from those 2 steps from the back door to my garage, and I would polish this car every time before a car show or a car cruise. I'm not a mechanic. I
Hmm.
don't do the mechanical work on it, but how the appearance of it is, that's me. Um, then we got OPX, the self-healing ceramic coating that's supposed to, fix all those little light swirls and stuff. Last June, I polished this thing and I put OPX on it, and I have not polished it since. It's freaking stunning when it's in the sun. You're hard pressed to find any problems on there. Um, so that's the solution I think you guys should push for show cars. You know, I also say this car is never going to incur anything that a warranty. We have this really great warranty
Yeah.
program, but it's never going to have any of those problems. If a bird poops on it, I'm going to clean it off. It's not going to get bug etchings on it. It's not even going to fade out in the sun because it only goes out once every week or every other week is the only time
Hmm.
it ever even sees the sun. So
Right. And
perfect,
when it's out in the sun, that's when it heals up.
perfect solution. Perfect solution. Okay, let's see here. Where do we? I think we have a whole mess of questions that people sent in, and some of them that people sent over to ask. So, want to
Okay.
tie into that section of the day. And we'll start out with some DIY questions. These are, we send out, if you guys do get one of the surveys that we send out, please do fill it out because
Nice.
it gives us something to talk about right here. What is the best way to prep a car before a show? Well, I just kind of answered my thing was to come down and polish the sucker every time, and now I just come down and use some ceramic detailer or slick and some eco wash, and I'm ready to go. It's made it that easy.
Yeah, and I think, so most people when they have their vehicles in their garage, right, it is covered. The OPX being self-healing, it just needs to be outside in the sunlight. You need ambient temperature, roughly right around 80, 85 degrees, and it's going to go ahead and start self-healing. Like what you're saying, you got to take it from your garage and you got to get to the car show, right? So by doing that with slick or ceramic detailer, you're putting on an extra layer that's actually going to, again, make it slicker so that when you do get there, from whatever bugs that you might have picked up, whatever debris, whatever, it's going to want to come off a lot easier because that's really, really fresh. So then when you get to the show, again, just make sure you have your right towels with you. Definitely, I like a high pile towel. And then when you do an application, as far as to maybe remove the dust, bugs, or whatever, you don't have to spray it directly on there. You can spray it within the towel, press it on, press it on, but put it on there and allow it to do the majority of the work and then just simply wipe. It shouldn't take much effort at all. So your prep work in the garage really helps you out once you get to the show and lets you enjoy it more. Enjoy the show more than cleaning your car.
Bob says plain microfiber, damp with some eco wash. You can dust off the interior. Absolutely, my friend. Eco wash the world.
Bob does something that's really, really excellent. And that's he'll have Tupperware containers of pre-soaked microfiber towels that are sitting in Eco Wash. So that when he gets to the show, those towels are already sopping wet with it, right? I mean, he can go ahead and rinse it out right there or wring it out a little bit. But he has that nice damp towel to go ahead and take that stuff off real quick.
Brilliant. Brilliant. All right. So here's question number 2. How often should I wax my car if I'm entering it into car shows? That's a fun
Right.
question. And I will go right back to my answer. I put OPX on there and I don't have to do it. I just don't have to do it anymore. If I want to, if I'm feeling
Right.
froggy and I want to polish this thing, um, then I can. But it's just taken that piece of it out. So now I don't. I got an hour or 2 hours back before any car show I go to in my life. I can just jump in this thing and go for a ride.
Right. It simplifies things. And I think that's what we're talking about. Getting the efficiency down with just a few products and then enjoying your time more, right? I mean, actually enjoying the show.
And now, so say you're one of our a guy who has a car. We also have a solution for you at Owner's Pride where you can put this ceramic coating on yourself. And anybody who would get some OPX Light, our consumer self-healing ceramic coating, I'd be more than happy to walk you through any of the steps that are needed to do that car. And as simple as calling Owner's Pride, and we'll take care of you for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a nice
Um,
one.
All right, the next one here. Can you recommend any quick detailing tips for keeping my car looking great during a multi-day car show? And I think a lot of these are going to be kind of similar with Eco Wash and some ceramic detailer or slick.
And the other thing is, if it doesn't need to be touched, don't touch it. I know it's very difficult for a lot of car show owners, but you see a lot of guys out there touching their cars, and it's extremely hot out. And honestly, at that point, just kind of leave it alone, you know, um, unless you're about ready to be judged or something like that. The more that you do put your hands on and a towel onto a hot car, one, the more often you're going to end up damaging and burning the ends on the microfiber towel if it's too hot. The other thing is you're more likely to bring in scratches. Again, if you had the OPX, it'll heat itself out and regenerate and it'll be fine. But there's no point in putting more damage onto a vehicle if you don't have to. So if you don't need to touch it when it's hot, don't touch it when it's hot.
And the next one here is what's a good product for removing water spots quickly? I'm going to say, first of all, if you're using Eco Wash, you probably will not have water spots because there's some polymers that stays back in those water spots that are sitting on the car. And if you just pull a towel out of your Eco Wash and wring it out and wipe over it, it kind of activates it and they come right
Hmm.
back. So that is huge, huge, huge. Water spots can be on your car for 5 or 10 minutes in the sun and they really can lock on and be a pain in the butt to get off. But so if you do have something that's a little bit more of a sticky water spot, or you're traditionally washing your car with some ultra wash and rinsing it down, and you get water spots, we have a product called Spotless that's a really light acid that's not going to do any damage to to you or to your glass on your car. It won't etch the glass. It's not crazy strong, but it does do a great job of loosening up the water spots to get them off.
Yeah, it's a mineral remover, really. We've even used it and let set on there like if we had a truck that came in and had concrete stuck to it, we can actually use it to loosen up the concrete. So that's what it's doing when it gets on there and you're trying to get those water spots off, the mineral part of itself is just trying to lift it up and get it away from the paint.
Yep. But your best way is to not let darn hard water dry on your car and get those water spots to begin with.
Right. And rinseless washes like Eco Wash, that's the way to go.
Eco Wash the world. Let's see here. What should I pack in my car care kit for a show? And I feel like I sound like a broken record here, but some Eco Wash and some ceramic detailer or slick is, I'm gonna guess what I have in my own car right here, and some microfiber towels.
Right. Exactly. It's like a peanut butter and jelly. They just go together. They're easy to work with. They work well together. The one thing I will recommend though is have your own separate care kit bag for this kind of stuff too. You know, especially your microfiber towels. Just letting your microfiber towels just kind of lay out in the open or get a chance to roll around. It can pick up a lot of stuff that's in the carpets and any of the fibers that are sitting inside your vehicle. If your windows have been down during the ride, you're getting a lot of dust in. You just don't want it on your towel. So keep them in a separate, and you can even have your own monogram bag or anything like that. I've seen that, and it's pretty cool to see people pull that out, the trunk and start wiping things down.
Yeah, take a bonus point one step further. Have it matching your car, whether it's by color of paint or like from era that
Oh,
it's from or something. Pretty neat.
right.
Okay. Do. Can I detail my own car like a professional for a car show? You know, you you can. Yeah, with practice and time and some education, you
Mhm.
absolutely can. Kind of. Some people prefer to do their own cars. That's why we have a line of products. We say that we have professional products without the professional problems. So we can put these professional products into your hands and help you be able to maintain your own car. Some people just prefer to get out there and really touch their car, and I even if I'm not polishing it, I could come out, and my project right now is I need to take pieces off of that motor and their aluminum and polish them out and put some of this OP metal coating that we have on there, and so it slows down the oxidation process for me. It's enjoyable just to do that, though. So if you enjoy doing your own car and you're into it, we're here to help you learn how to do that too.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a place as a DIY. Honestly, a lot of people that bring their vehicles to our shop, it's because of time. You know, they just don't have the time before the show. So if you do have the time and it's something that you do enjoy, there's a lot of tools out there to educate on how to, how to detail, how to spend that time. You are going to spend a lot of time. The nice thing about taking it to a detailer, they've learned a lot of efficiencies. They have the tools. They're able to take care of things, and it's one more thing you wouldn't have to do. But again, if it is something you thoroughly enjoy, yeah, there's an entire lineup of products that can help you there.
Um, and here we have another one. What is the best way to clean and shine chrome parts? You want? You want me?
Go ahead. No,
Okay.
I'll let you do
So
it.
knowing the difference between chrome and aluminum is the first thing, and maybe some people don't realize stuff that's like a mirror shiny all the time, like handlebars on a motorcycle. That's typically
Hmm.
the bell housing around the light on the front of a Harley. That's going to be chrome. A lot of the pieces on your engine you can get in either chrome or aluminum for temperature reduction purposes, because we kind of built this out as a dragster, um, and it just for I like the traditional aluminum, even though it's a pain in the butt and you got to polish it. Two different ways of going about it. So for your chrome, you can clean that up. Say it gets a little bit of pitting in it from moisture. You can take that off with some slick or ceramic detailer and a light clay towel. You can also put some OP compound onto a towel and just kind of clean it off. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn this around for just 1 second. My Scott, my tenant's car right here, he has this Kia, and it has this chrome tape trim all around it, and it just gets boogered up from water spots. And so every once in a while, we'll just go out there, and I think I've made a few videos about it, where I take some OP compound and just clean it up, and it takes all of it
Hmm.
off.
Right, and what you're talking about that is usually it's like looks like a regular Chrome, but yet they go ahead and put some type of tint overlay on it, and they look really nice. It's just right. It as far as durability, it's nothing like an actual Chrome piece, but you can still lightly polish it and get some of those light water spots or anything else off of them too. And I think as long as you're maintaining that, it stays easy.
Absolutely. Kyle Kamas, one of the nicest guys in the detail industry. I think we can give him that moniker.
I think everybody has agreed to that.
Yeah. Can you imagine just being a guy that everybody liked? Can't imagine it. Can't imagine it.
I can't. I don't know what to do.
All right, let's jump into some of these questions that were sent in to us from our network of professional detailers. How do I market my detailing services at a car show to attract local clients? I think we kind of covered that in the first
We did.
entire spot there.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the next one. What is the best way to offer on-site detailing services at a car show? Yeah, I think maybe if I wanted to do that and I wanted to really detail at the car show, where you're going to do multiple cars, probably contacting whoever's putting on the car show and getting some kind of an approval from them. That might even lead to them advertising it for you if you sell it to them as a
Hmm.
value that you're there to help them. You see it a lot of the motorcycle things, the Harley gatherings that
Yep.
I've seen. They will have bikini babes washing the motorcycles. So, maybe you throw on a bikini and you get out there and you clean some cars.
I don't want to see you in a bikini, Dan. I just don't. it's not going to sell anything. You ain't going to sell anything, man.
At 55, nobody
Yeah,
wants to see that.
but you know, you do if it's something you're wanting to do as far as on-site detailing. Yeah, you definitely want to get to know who is putting the show on. More than likely, they'll probably want some type of sponsorship. And the most important thing is they're going to make sure you're not in the way. You know, the last thing that they want is, you know, a vendor slinging compound or getting something more dusty or anything else that they might be doing, or just even the noise of a polisher even. You know, you're going to want to know where would your designated space be. um, and then I think you know, from there you can start marketing. Okay, what size tent do you want to get? You know, what do you need to have on hand? Are you going to sell products while you're there? And who's going to help man the booth for you? Because you are going to want to eventually step away and be able to talk to people because they, you know, they're going to want to know where you're working at, where's your shop.
And it really, the big thing is you're going to want to talk to people. Don't just think
Yeah.
about always trying to stab them in the neck and take their wallet. Show your interest
Yeah.
in them and what they got, and they will just open up.
Yeah, talk to people and be yourself. You know, that's the other thing. I see a lot of guys who go to show, just be yourself. Be yourself, even though if you don't know how to sell your services, you can sell yourself by just talking to people, looking them in the eye. And the other thing, not saying anything, just listening to what they have to say.
All right. So somebody says here, how should I price my services at a car for a car show where I'm doing quick cleanups or corrections? You know, I think anytime that you price any of your services, you just have to look at what your labor is, what your chemical cost is, and the time you're going to spend at it. And when you're doing something like this, it's almost like it's a marketing piece for you. So if you're making a little less money, it's still a marketing piece, and you have to tie your ROI in doing that to the stuff that comes in the future. So you have to look at it in a much larger picture and really be able to track and analyze if it was profitable for you to do or not a month or two down the road, not just at that very moment.
Right. And I think the other thing is match your services with what's going on. You know you're not going to be able to have enough time to do, like, say, a complete detail and so forth and so on. So get this package down. How long is this going to take you to take care of a quick wipe down on a vehicle, a quick, seal, rinseless wash and a seal? And go from there. Look at your margins, like what you were saying. And my whole thing too is your time. You know, think about your time because the other thing is if you're doing this and you're outside or in the elements, you want to make sure that you're not going to be, you're going to be able to get around the vehicle and take care of things before stuff starts evaporating away and becomes more difficult.
Yeah. I cannot stress enough. I don't, again, I don't know if I will ever get snapped for this, but this I feel is like such a great idea, and this would be such a good idea for you guys as detailers. If you go out, present this, you can make a piece of social media content, and you're gonna have whoever you award this thing to pretty proud of it. They're gonna post it on social media. They're gonna tell their friends.
Yep.
$11, my friends, $11. Okay. Should I offer discounts or promotions when I'm at a car show to attract new customers? Um, I, I really liked. I'm not a huge fan of free. I really like that offering is to have that collection of people's information on the table where you're going to give something out that's not going to be too painful for you to give out. I always revert back to that clay and spray. You're claying, you're washing, you're sealing the car all at once. It looks great, it feels smooth, and it's only going to take you an hour, hour and a half.
Right. And I think this also goes back to we were talking about products or, if you have a bundle of products that you can go ahead and sell as a care package or, a car care package. It it's something that's usable, something that they can take with them too. You were talking about that, and having products around. Make sure you're dropping your business card in there too. You know, don't just hand them the products. Make sure you're dropping something in there about yourself so that they know who to go to when they run out of that.
Yeah. You know, when I was working on building a dealership program, and I didn't have any connections to the world that I was stepping into, I started going to their trade shows, to Agent Summit, Industry Summit, NADA. And what I would do is I would go up to the people that were kind of the bigger people, you could tell, in that environment, and I would ask to take a selfie with them. So even if you were doing something like that, where you're involving the customer and you're putting a picture and then it's going onto your social media and you can make that connection and tag them, like just look at the trail that leaves with your name brand being put out in front of people. So it's just another free idea
Right.
that you can fire up.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see how important it is, especially in today's media, because how many TV stars, movie stars do you see? They're always trying to get pictures with one another, or somebody's trying to get a picture with them. It's something that we just acknowledge in society, and there's nothing even weird about it. And you're right, it can help with a lot of great content, and it continues to get you out there.
And then we have down here, how do I follow up with leads and potential customers at car meets and car shows that I meet at car shows? I just throw extra words in there for the heck of it. You want this one? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, again, it's capturing that data, right? So you want to make sure you're getting the emails. You're wanting to make sure you're getting the phone numbers, so forth and so on. Some of that can be easily done, just even with a digital card. You can have a QR code on your phone so that when somebody goes ahead and snaps a picture of it real quick, you know, they got to give you their information so they get yours. Hi Hello is an app that I used a lot and still use a lot today to be able to get customer information. It was very important when I was at a car show and if I'm mobile. Now, if you're there and you're stationary, have that QR code there. You know, if you're putting together, say, some type of discount or a giveaway, get their information easily on just a card. You know, if you're going to do a drawing, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it the old-fashioned way, pen and paper, or you can do it digitally with a QR code today. But getting their information, and then it's not just getting the information, it's also following up. And people are constantly busy. And we talked about this today even. You can't just do a one or two or three try with people because everybody is busy. They're really busy. You have no idea if this person you're calling works nights or if they work days. Do they work better with or respond better with emails or do they respond better with text? You know, find out. And when they're ready to make a decision, they know who to go to.
Yeah. You want to try to meet them where they already are. You can't make somebody have something clunky and different for them to try if they're more comfortable with a certain form of communication. I think that's
Right.
huge, huge, huge. Now, I mean, I look at it from, where I am in life. I don't think that I could ever buy something from somebody on a text message. Ours couldn't. You're hard
Uh,
pressed to ever make that happen. You got to talk to me on the telephone, um, and that's just so. Think about the age of the customer too, because a lot of the younger people would prefer only to text.
Well, and it's also understanding that is their form of communication typically is whatever is going to be the most convenient, right? So for a lot of people, it is more convenient. Sometimes for us, you know, as busy as you and I get, you get a text from somebody, there might be three or four more texts to come in, and now you got to go back and try to find that one that you didn't see, right? Or an email. I get an alert that I got an email. Typically, if I see an email, I'm going to go check it out. That's just the way I'm built. But now, you've also got algorithms out there who pick this stuff up. There's plenty of apps and programs that can be out there to help you to look and see, you know, if you're doing email campaigns to how many people open up those emails. There's a lot of tools out there, but you got to get away from the paint. You can't just polishing vehicles. You got to get away from the paint and look at the business as a whole.
And I'm just going to kind of throw one more piece in there that I don't really think I touched on. And if you do have somebody who you're taking care of their car and it's in that car show, a lot of times they're absolutely okay with you putting some kind of a signage in their car or on their car. So think of having something made that's kind of classy and nice, that, you know, whether that's like kind of a hard, thick stock
Hmm.
piece of, not like a thin just piece of paper, but something on a thick card stock that they can set in there that's going to, you know, ideally it's going to say something about owner's pride, and it's going to say something about your business in there too, you know. Well, I'll take the plug in there
Hmm.
too. But that's
Yeah.
really good, and that's again, that's just free name brand exposure for people who are walking by and appreciating that car.
Right. Right. And that's the other thing you bring up, like the card stock and everything else. You're going to be outdoors for hours and hours. Make sure you know what the weather's going to be like. Or, hey, you can't just take a piece of paper, the QR code, and tape it to a box. You can, but I mean, again, the more you're prepared, the more professional you look, probably the better off you're going to get as far as leads and contacts.
Yeah, can't believe it, but we just done another hour.
Gone.
Gone, gone, gone. So hopefully we gave you guys some great value in here. We talked some about car shows from somebody who's attending a car show with their car's point of view. As a
Mhm.
professional detailing business, we exposed some of the products that you could use, whether you're a DIY or to even ceramic coat your car yourself, or are have a professional detailer. And if you are looking for a professional detailer, you go to ownerspride.com and click on find an installer. Finest group of detailers in the world right there, I tell you.
Great people.
Great
OP
people.
Nation.
Yep. We answered some questions that were sent in by you guys. And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us at any time. And I'd love to continue this conversation.
Sounds good.
All right, Damon. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for everybody out there
Hey,
who threw some questions at us and for hanging out with us today. We'll be here every Thursday at 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock Pacific time. True story. Yeah? Yeah? You done?
yeah,
You done?
yeah,
All right.
I'm done.
If I can oh, there. Hey, there's the finish button. I'm going to go ahead and hit it right now. Until next time, stay glossy.